There's a saying in Hollywood that if Martin Scorsese offers you a role, you just say yes. And what can we say about the maestro that hasn't already been said? Among several industry awards, he's won 4 BAFTAs, 3 Emmys, and an Oscar, making him one of the greatest directors the world has ever seen. And in this video, we're counting down our 10 favorite Scorsese films, in no particular order, starting with number 10, Shutter Island. Some thrillers deserve a second watch, not because they're rewatchable, but because you view them in a completely different light. Shutter Island's one of them. With this psychological thriller, Scorsese dove into the neo-noir genre, proving that he was just as good at mystifying audiences as he was at crafting a gangster epic. The story follows Teddy Daniels, played by frequent Scorsese collaborator Leonardo DiCaprio. Teddy's a U.S. Marshal who's investigating a missing patient at the Ashcliff Hospital for the criminally insane. But in his quest to find answers, he uncovers a shocking secret of his own. Shutter Island warrants a rewatch because you're bound to miss important clues on your first viewing. At number 9, it's the king of comedy. The 5th collaboration between De Niro and Scorsese proved that the actor-director relationship was one of the best in Hollywood, serving as a satire on celebrity worship and modern media culture. The king of comedy follows Rupert Pupkin, a delusional comedian who's fixated on the idea of hosting his own talk show. He's so obsessed that he kidnaps a real comedian and talk show host Jerry Langford in order to extort him for a time slot on his show. Everything from the surreal humor to the delusional hero/villain to the soundtrack is a pure joy to experience. But unfortunately, the movie didn't rake in a lot of money at the box office. Critics really loved it though, and it's consistently ranked as one of Scorsese's best. It's one of our favorites, simply because it's so creepy. Next up, number 8, The Departed. Who could forget the scene where Costello's being tailed by the cops while I'm shipping up to Boston plays in the background? Or the highly quotable, I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy. The Departed is an essential Scorsese film. It's a rite of passage, just like Taxi Driver and Goodfellas. And it's the film that finally won Scorsese the Oscar for Best Director and Best Picture. Interestingly, The Departed is a remake of a 2002 Hong Kong movie called Internal Affairs. While one thrusts you into the corrupt world of modern-day China, the other plunges you into the scumbag world of Boston. The Departed is endlessly rewatchable, quotable, and hilarious. Plus, the ensemble cast, led by the powerhouse that is Jack Nicholson, is always worth watching just because of their chemistry. The characters are conniving and sleazy, and everyone gets their 15 minutes. We personally can't get enough of Alec Baldwin and Mark Wahlberg's characters addressing the officers at the beginning of the movie. For number 7, we picked The Irishman. Now, before we begin with this pick, we need to ask you, have you ever thought that Scorsese glamorizes mob life? Because every gangster movie that he's directed seems to have a message against glamorizing it, and The Irishman keeps it simple. There's no happy ending for a mobster. Based on Charles Brandt's I Heard You Paint Houses, Scorsese and screenwriter Steven Zalian crafted a 3.5-hour masterpiece that leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth. The Irishman's loosely based on the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa and Frank Sheeran's relationship with crime boss Russell Bufalino. Fun fact, the movie had been in development since 2004 and couldn't get funding. And that's surprising because who'd say no to Scorsese? And yet it remained parked until Netflix shelled out the $159 million needed to develop it. It's a massive story, spanning nearly 6 decades, and features a career-best performance by Joe Pesci as Russell Bufalino. The movie was a massive risk for Scorsese, even with his pedigree, but it paid, earning 10 Academy Award nominations, including Best Supporting Actor for Pesci. Next, number 6, The Wolf of Wall Street. There's no denying that this is one of Scorsese's wildest, most provocative movies. Not only does it paint a grim picture of 90s corporate America, but it's also the movie that put Margot Robbie on the map. Based on the cocaine-fueled debaucheries of the real-life Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street features phenomenal performances by Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill. The characters lie, cheat, and steal their way to the top of America's corporate ladder. They're unique, unlikable, and very racist. But that's Scorsese for you. He paints a realistic portrait of how things used to be, but he also shows you the consequences of what comes from manipulating the stock market. But honestly, who doesn't love watching a man defrauding the stock market, only for everything to come crashing down on him? We sure do. Coming in at number 5, it's Casino. If there's a Scorsese movie with a cult following, it's Casino. The story follows Ace Rothstein, played by De Niro, as he tries to manage a Las Vegas casino that has ties to the mob. He starts off slow but eventually rises to the top. The film has plenty of similarities to Goodfellas, particularly in the way it depicts mob mentality. Plus, it also features some of the same cast, including De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Frank Vincent. It wasn't a huge critical success when it was released, but audiences lapped it up. If you ask anyone about their top Scorsese films, Casino usually makes it to the top 5. The awesome soundtrack, the portrayal of glitz and glamour of Las Vegas, and the closures for characters make it a quintessential Scorsese movie. Up next is number 4, Raging Bull. With Raging Bull, Scorsese decided to venture into the biographical sports genre. Back in the 80s, boxing films were all the rage, excuse the pun, but Scorsese intended to create a biographical story based on the turbulent life of middleweight boxer Jake LaMotta, and in order to portray the boxer's life accurately, Scorsese did not hold back. The protagonist, played by De Niro, is really unlikable. The violence is brutal, and LaMotta's life outside the ring is just as violent. But this just made the movie even more brilliant. It uses black and white, sound, and cinematography to portray some of LaMotta's most shocking fights with Sugar Ray Robinson. What's more, De Niro went all out on his preparation to play the boxer, including training with LaMotta to the point where he could actually box professionally. So it's no wonder that he won an Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance. If it's still on your watch list, we highly recommend watching it this weekend. It's one of Scorsese's finest works, and it's consistently regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. At number 3, it's Mean Streets. Considered by many as one of the cornerstone movies of New Hollywood, Scorsese's Mean Streets is a gritty, timeless masterpiece. The story follows a slice of life. Look at Charlie and Johnny Boy, portrayed by Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. Johnny's a ne'er-do-well who owes money to loan sharks, and Charlie's caught between religion and his responsibilities to the mob. Mean Streets shows an honest portrait of the sleazy streets of 1970s Little Italy, the likes of which had never really been seen before. Our favorite scene is the fight at the pool hall, set to the Marvelettes' Please Mr. Postman. It's dark, gritty, and hilarious all at the same time. And did anyone ever figure out what a mook is? In second place, it's Taxi Driver, the movie that started the lifelong actor-director relationship and featured one of the most iconic lines in Hollywood history. Taxi Driver. De Niro stars as Travis Bickle, the anti-hero protagonist who suffers from insomnia and depression. It's a cold, hard look at what PTSD can do to a 26-year-old Vietnam vet who wants to cleanse the streets. He's a lonely cab driver whose customers are usually sleazeballs from New York City, including pimps and drug addicts. It's a simple story of a man's mind unraveling at the seams while he tries to save an underage sex worker's life. Taxi Driver's one of Scorsese's most disturbing, uncompromising films, and it's a film you should watch alone. Not because it's scary, but because it portrays an honest look at what happens when a person's mental health is pushed to the brink of insanity. Finally, number 1, Goodfellas. We were seriously debating whether Taxi Driver should be first, but Goodfellas is just too perfect not to take the number 1 spot. Featuring stellar performances, iconic quotes, and sharp writing, Goodfellas is a biographical crime drama chronicling the rise and fall of Henry Hill, a small-time gangster who made it big in the Lucchese family and eventually became an FBI informant. Goodfellas is one of the greatest films ever made, period. It created the blueprint that many gangster films still follow to this day, and it put Ray Liotta on the map as one of Hollywood's finest actors. The one thing we love about the movie is that it features charismatic characters who love excessive violence and drugs. Scorsese doesn't hold back from showing you the countless pleasures the mob life will throw in your lap until it all comes crashing down. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. So, do you agree with our list? Which ones do you think should be in the top 10? Tell us your favorite Scorsese movies down below. We come out with exciting top 10 videos regularly, so be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more.